turn to page 326 as we begin our afternoon service. We stand as one at this hour. Israel stands as one in prayer. All Jews on earth unite through memory and hope. A people unafraid, unvanquished, says to God, "This people you have formed still lives to tell your praise, still lives to share this teaching with our youth. Our ancient journey has not reached its end. The faith implanted at our people's birth is realized from age to age, our sacred covenant. This people, few in number, ventured forth to carve a lonely path through wilderness with dreams of vines and fig trees, justice in the gates, the land at peace. And still we make our way across the desert. This people you have formed still lives to walk before you. Exiled once to Babylon, we learned the unity of God. A second time, dispersed by Rome, we learned that humankind is one. Shema Yisrael, hear O Israel, the call still sounds. Eternity is ever present in your midst, a heritage of sacred purpose in your heart. Your past tells a story for all peoples. Your future holds a promise still unfolding. At this hour, Israel stands as one in prayer. All Jews on earth unite through memory and hope. We look to one another and we know who we are. We look to our Creator and we know our strength. In pursuit of truth, this people lives to serve the Most High for the sake of life. Behind us, pain and glory. Before us, holy work. Timeless words command us. Toward eternity we gaze, we rise together for Seder Kriyat HaTorah 328. Our Torah service for this afternoon service is Parshat Kiddushin, Leviticus chapter 19, beginning on page 337. And it's our honor to have Cantor Gudchin read from the Torah and bless from the Torah. Cantor G, the Torah is yours.
Thank you, Rabbi. Cantor.
Ya'amud Cantor G li'ali ala Torah.
Baruch et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Amborach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch ata Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Vayidaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. Daber el kol adot b'nei Yisrael ve'amarta alehem Kedoshim tihiyu, ki kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem. Ishimo ve'aviv tira'u, ve'et shabtotai tishmeru, ani Adonai Elohechem. Al tifnu el ha'elilim, ve'elohei masecha, Lo ta'asu lachem, ani Adonai Elohechem. V'chi tizbechu zevach shel amim l'Adonai l'rtzonechem. Tizbechu beyom Zivchachem Ye'achel u'macharat ve'hanotar ad yom hashlishi ba'esh yisaref me'im he'achol ye'achel ba'yom hashlishi pigulhu lo yiratzeh Me'ochelav avono yisa, ki et kodesh Adonai chilal, v'nichreta hanefesh ahi me'ameha, ufkutzrechem et kitzir artechem, lo tichale, pe'at tzadcha liksor, Velech kitzircha lo tilaket, mechar mecha lo leoleh, uferet kamecha lo tilaket, laniv lager ta'azovotam, ani Adonai Elohechem, lo tignovu, velo tichachashu, velo tishakru, ish ba'amito. V'lo tishavu v'shmi l'shaker v'chilalta et shem Elohecha ani Adonai lo ta'ashok et re'acha v'lo tigzol lo talin be'ula tzechir itcha ad boker Lo tekalel cheresh velifnei velo titen michshol v'yareita me'elohecha ani Adonai lo ta'asu avel b'mishpat lo tisaf pnei dal v'lo tidar pnei gadol b'tzedek tishpot amitecha Lo telech rachil ba'amecha, lo ta'amor al dam re'echa, ani Adonai. Lo tisna et achicha bilvavecha, hocheach tochiach et amitecha, ולא תישא עליו חטא. לא תיקום ולא תיטור את בני עמך, ואהבת לרעך כמוך, אני אדוני. מפני שיבה תקום, והדרת פני זקן, ויראת מאלוהיך אני אדוני, וכי יגור איתך גר בארצכם, לא תונו אותו כאזרח מכם, יהיה לכם הגר איתכם, ואהבת לו כמוך, כי גרים הייתם בארץ מצרים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. לא תעשו עוול במשפט, מעמידה במשקל ובמשורה, מאזני צדק אבני צדק, אפת צדק, והין צדק יהיה לכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, ושמרתם את כל חוקותי וכל משפטי, ועשיתם אותם, אני אדוני.
Yasher koach.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen.
Amen.
And for the honor of lifting the Torah, Cantor Gutchen, we rise together. Page 340. Please be seated, and it's our pleasure to welcome to the Bima our Director of Membership and Engagement, making her Haftorah debut on Yom Kippur, Monica Singletary. Our service begins with Haftorah 342. No pressure.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratza v'divrehem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai Habocher b'Torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo uvivei ha'emet v'tzedek. And the word of Adonai came to Jonah, son of Amittai, "Get up, go to the great city of Nineveh and proclaim against it, for their evil deeds have risen up before me." But Jonah got up to flee to Tarshish, away from the presence of Adonai. And he went down to Jaffa and found there a ship headed for Tarshish. And he paid its fare and went down into it to head with them to Tarshish, away from the presence of Adonai. But Adonai hurled a great wind upon the sea, a storm at sea so great that the ship was in danger of being shattered to pieces. And the sailors were frightened, cried out, each to his own god, and flung the ship's cargo into the sea to lighten their load. But Jonah had gone down into the hold, the lower deck of the vessel, and he lay down and fell into a deep sleep. And the captain approached him and said to him, "What are you doing, sound asleep? Get up, call to your God. Perhaps the God will be kind to us, and we will not perish." And they said, each man to his companion, "Let us cast lots, that we might know on whose account this evil event has come to us." So they cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. And they said to him, "Tell us, you who have brought this evil upon us, what is your trade, and where have you come from? What is your country, and who are your people?" And he said to them, "I am a Hebrew. I revere Adonai, God of heaven, who made sea and dry land." The men felt great fear, and they asked him, "What have you done?" Because the men knew he was fleeing from Adonai, for so he had told them. And they asked him, "What should we do to you to bring calm to the sea around us?" For the sea was growing more and more stormy. So he said to them, "Lift me up and hurl me into the sea, and the sea will calm down for you. For I know that this great storm came upon you because of me." And the crew rowed hard to return to the dry land, but they could not do it, for the sea was raging more and more fiercely around them. And they called out to Adonai, saying, "Please, Adonai, please do not let us perish because of the life of this man, and do not hold us guilty of shedding innocent blood. For you, Adonai, that which you desired, you have brought about." And they lifted Jonah and hurled him into the sea. Then the sea stopped raging. The men revered Adonai. Great was the reverence. So they offered to Adonai a sacrifice and made vows. And Adonai provided a great fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. Jonah prayed to Adonai his God from the belly of the fish, and he said, "I called to Adonai in my distress, and God answered me. I cried out from the belly of the netherworld, and you heard my voice. Into the depths you cast me, into the heart of the sea, and the floods engulfed me. All your billowing, breaking waves swept over me. And I thought to myself, I was banished from before your eyes. Will I ever again gaze upon your holy temple? The waters closed in over me, the deep engulfed me, rushes wrapped around my head. I descended to the low point of the mountains. The gates of the earth closed upon me forever. Yet you, Adonai my God, raised up my life from the pit. When my life fainted away, I called Adonai to mind, and my prayer came to you, to your holy temple. They who cling to empty folly forsake their own welfare, but I, with a shout of thanksgiving, I will sacrifice to you. What I have vowed, I will fulfill. Rescue comes from Adonai. Adonai commanded the fish, and it spewed Jonah out upon dry land. And the word of Adonai came to Jonah a second time. Get up, go to the great city of Nineveh, and call out to it the proclamation that I tell you. So Jonah got up and went to Nineveh according to the word of Adonai. Now Nineveh was a great city of God, 3 days' journey across. And Jonah started out and made his way into the city, the distance of 1 day walk. And he called out and said, 40 more days, and Nineveh shall be overturned. The people of Nineveh trusted in God, and they proclaimed a fast, and they put on sackcloth from the richest to the poorest. And word reached the king of Nineveh, and he got up from his throne, took off his robe, put on sackcloth, and sat in ashes. And he cried out and said in Nineveh, by decree of the king and his nobles, no person or beast of flock or herd shall taste anything. They shall not graze, and they shall not drink water. They shall be covered with sackcloth, person and beast, and shall call loudly to God. Let all turn back from their evil ways and from the violence which is in their hands. Who knows, God may turn and relent, turn back from the heat of anger so that we do not perish. God saw what they did, how they were turning back from their evil ways, and God relented from the evil planned out for them, and they did not carry it out. But to Jonah this was great evil, and it made him angry. So he prayed to Adonai, saying, "Please, Adonai, is this not what I said when I was still in my own country? This is why I fled to Tarshish to begin with. For I knew that you are gracious and compassionate God, endlessly patient and abounding in steadfast love, ready to repent of evil. And now, Adonai, please take my life from me, for it is better for me to die than to live." And Adonai said, "Is it good for you to be angry?" Then Jonah left the city, found a place east of the city, made himself a shelter there, and sat under it in the shade until he might see what would come of the city. And Adonai Elohim provided a gourd and made it rise up over Jonah to give shade for his head and rescue him from his evil situation. And Jonah rejoiced with great joy because of the gourd. But at dawn the next day, God provided a worm that attacked the gourd, and it withered, and as the sun rose, God provided an oppressive wind from the east, and the sun beat down on Jonah's head, making him faint. He begged for death, saying, "It is better for me to die than to live." Then God said to Jonah, "Are you good and angry about the gourd?" And he said, "I'm good and angry to the point of death." Then Adonai said, "You pitied the gourd, which you neither worked for nor grew, which appeared overnight and perished overnight. Should I, then, not have compassion for the great city of Nineveh, a place of more than 120,000 human beings, unable to tell their right hand from their left, and many beasts?" Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech ha'olam, zur kol ha'olamim, zadik bekol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer ve'oseh, hamdaber umkayem, shekol devarav emet v'tzedek, al ha'torah ve'al ha'avodah, ve'al ha'nevi'im, ve'al yom ha'kippurim hazeh, shenatata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu, limchila ve'lislicha, u'chapara, lechavod utifaret, al hakol, Adonai Eloheinu, anachnu modim lach, umvarchim otak, yitbarach shimcha, befi chokai tamid leolam va'ed, udvarcha emet v'chayam la'ad, baruch atah Adonai, melech mochel ve'soleach la'avotenu, la'avonot amo beit Yisrael, uma'avir ashmotenu bechol shana ve'shana, melech al kol ha'aretz, mekadesh Yisrael, ve'yom ha'kippurim.
Amen. Yashkoach.
We rise together as we return the Torah back to the Ark.
Yehalelu et Shem Adonai, ki niskach shemo levado.
We will remain standing as we turn to page 360 for tefillah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu ve'imoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Ha'gadol Ha'gibor Me'hanorah Elyon Gomel Chassadim Tovim Bekonei Hakol Vezocher Chasdei Ahavot V'imahot Livnei v'neihem leman shemo be'ahava. Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ezrat Sarah אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה, רב להושיע, מכלכל חיים, מחסד, מחיי מתים, מרחמים רבים, סומך נופלים מרובי חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך מימית מקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך וקרא זה אל זה מאמר קדוש. אדיר אדירנו, אדוני אדוננו, אדיר שמך בכל הארץ, בכל הארץ. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו, מהו ישמיענו מרחמיו, מרחמיו לעיני כל חי, לעיני כל חי. Baruch atah Adonai HaMelech HaKadosh.
Please be seated. We turn to page 385 for a really important reading that really speaks to the complexities of what we experience. Forgiving yourself, feel bad, it won't kill you. Use these feelings as a catalyst to make amends so long as doing so doesn't inflict more pain. Do something positive that will help offset the damage you have caused. After you have done all you can by way of making amends, and you have learned all you can from what you did, make a solemn vow not to repeat the act. Assuming you have done all this, let it go. How? The next time the memory arises, don't give yourself over to the drama. Yes, I did that. I won't do that again. There's no point in dwelling on it, and doing so simply feeds my narcissism. Better to do something constructive with my time and energy. 397. The bottom. What has happened in my life since last Yom Kippur that makes me thankful? Have I grown during the past year in my ability to experience and to express gratitude? Am I consistent in expressing gratitude to loved ones and friends? Do I look for things to feel grateful for or things to complain about? Do I feel appreciated by others? What have I done during the past year that has earned someone else's gratitude? What blessings have nourished me in recent years? What are some miracles that greet me every day? 406. Sim Shalom. Page 412. As parents show tenderness to their children, may you show mercy to those who worship you. Like the heavens that tower above the earth, your love is powerful for those who revere you. Liberation is a gift from God, a blessing upon your people. You are the God of all we can perceive, our haven, the God of Yaakov. And you are the God of all that is beyond our perception. The one who has faith in you is fortunate. Sovereign God, show us the way to freedom. Answer us on this day of our calling out to you. Moses prayed to God, as you have been faithful to this people ever since Egypt, please forgive their failings now in keeping with your boundless love. 4:16.
Eloheinu
Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence. And when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong.
Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, Tibarnu Dofi, Evinu, Hirshanu, Zadnu, Hamasnu, Tafarnu Sheker, Ya'atznu Ram, Yizavnu, Latznu, Maratnu, Ni'atznu, Sararnu, Avinu, Ashanu, Sararnu, Kishinu Oref, Rashanu, Shihatnu, Tiavnu, Tainu, Titanu.
We continue on page 418. The ways we have wronged you deliberately and by mistake, and harm we have caused in your world through insincere promises. The ways we have wronged you by judging others unfairly, and harm we have caused in your world by making light of serious matters. The ways we have wronged you by giving in to our hostile impulses, and the harm we have caused in your world through condensation. The ways we have wronged you through our innermost thoughts, and harm we have caused in your world through the words of our mouths. The ways we have wronged you through lies and deceit, and harm we have caused in your world by mistreating a friend or neighbor. The ways we have wronged you by hating without cause, and harm we have caused in your world through hypocrisy. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. We continue on page 420. Al chet shachatanu lefanecha, the ways we wronged you openly and secretly, and harm we have caused in your world through our thoughtfulness. The ways we have wronged you by profaning your name in public, and harm we have caused in your world through offensive speech. The ways we have wronged you through gossip and rumor, and harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and teachers. The ways we have wronged you through narrow-mindedness, and harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty in business. The ways we have wronged you through sexual immorality, and harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and drink. The ways we have wronged you by betraying trust, and harm we have caused you in your world through impulsive acts of malice. For all these failures of judgment and will, God, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. We turn to page 426. We rise together. Avinu Malkeinu, as Joseph wept and opened a forgiving heart to his brothers, let our hearts be open to those who ask our forgiveness. Avinu Malkeinu, as the high priest entered the innermost shrine to atone, let our acts of teshuvah touch our innermost life. Avinu Malkeinu, as Jonah cried out to God, I thought I was driven away. Let us reach for the divine from the depths of our being. Avinu Malkeinu, as you said to Moses in Israel, you shall be holy, for I am holy. Let us affirm today. We shall pursue holiness in our everyday lives, revering mother and father, providing for the poor, rising before the aged, loving neighbor and stranger as ourselves. Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice. We turn to page 447 as we begin our Avodah service. Let us rise to this call, Kadosh shall you be, dulled by routine, awash in trivia, assaulted by noise, can we still hear the ancient voice? Kadosh shall you be, for Kadosh am I, the eternal. Within us, beyond us, the still, small voice, urgent, insistent, summons the soul. Kadosh to you, for Kadosh I am the eternal. Lift up your deeds, awaken to awe. Strive for the good, hold fast to the truth. Listen well, family of Israel, the voice still speaks. Become a holy people, Am Kadosh. Bring holiness to earth and live. Here and now, Bind yourself to this journey. Make your life a pilgrimage of service, a sacred ascent. Eternity dwells within you. Join yourselves to the eternal. Please be seated, and we turn to page 476. Let now a generous presence teach us gentleness that melts our hardness of heart. Then shall we be more sensitive to the needs of others and responsive to their pleas. All who struggle to be heard, and those who live behind walls of illness, poverty, and injustice. All whose faces are forgotten from one encounter to the next, and those who never find a place of shelter and safety. All whose skills and talents go unnoticed, and those whose bright promise has dimmed for want of attention. All whose bodies are burned with pain, and those whose minds are clouded by confusion. All whose voices tremble with the cry of absence, and those only season is the winter of the heart. All who die alone in spiritual darkness, and those whose isolation is a living death. All who are abandoned, neglected, or abused, and those who have been driven from their homes by violence and war. All who wait for love that never comes, and those who long for a word, a touch, especially a friend. To all these, let us respond with open hearts. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al mitzvat korbanot. Blessed are you, eternal presence, by whose power we sanctify life through acts of generosity and self-sacrifice. Let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among them.
Ve'asu li mikdash